Hi, and welcome to this edition of Financial Planning Innovation. My name is Marc Glickman. I'm an actuary and I'm a long-term care insurance specialist. And it's my pleasure to have on the line Carter Wilcoxson. He's a FMO, IMO, BGA in the insurance world, and he has kind of an innovative approach to how he works with advisors. Thanks for joining us today.
Mark, thank you very much for having me.
Okay, so first of all, tell me a little bit about your background. How did you become a BGA? Not everyone takes that path.
Well, it's a really long story on how that, how you got there. But, I've been in the industry for coming up on 2 decades now. And I started out cutting my teeth in the insurance arena, selling $2 to $10 a week supplemental life insurance plans on the Navajo reservation. That's how I ended up getting my insurance license. I ended up meeting somebody who brought me into the industry, and that's a really long story. And I didn't even really know what the industry was. I actually, whenever I first started, and I think this is still probably true, when I first started, I considered myself more like a glorified telemarketer, but the name became an internal wholesaler eventually down the road. But so it was just one of those things that being in the right place at the right time, and it led me to where I'm at today, and it's been a phenomenal, 16, 17, 18 years so far.
That's cool. It sounds like you really walked the walk on the retail side, and it probably gives you a unique perspective, and then worked your way up the ranks. And now today, tell me a little bit about your practice today and who you work with.
Yeah, and I got to tell you that, as a principal of, CEO and founder of CSI Financial Group, I really do have a unique perspective since I've been on both sides of the equation, if you will. And whenever I started CSI Financial Group, though, I knew that, product is not the unmet need in this industry. So I asked myself, one very important question: how am I going to differentiate myself? But then what I decided to also do, because I had that unique retail experience, I said, well, what am I going to do to help to elevate and differentiate the independent financial advisor that I'm going to be recruiting in their competitive market, since I knew what they were having to go through. So that's really been the main focus from the very, very beginning. And we've been very process-driven and process-focused to be able to help advisors truly grow their practice.
Interesting. So it sounds like you're a lot more hands-on, process orientation, and that's really kind of your secret sauce, so to speak, and how you can add value for advisors. I want to talk a little bit about your process. Can you kind of tell us what that looks like? Let's say you have a new advisor that comes on board. What does that look like for people that are trying to offer insurance solutions, estate planning, et cetera, to their clients?
Yeah, well, we've taken a sort of a dual approach in that. And not only do we have an onboarding process for our independent financial advisors that we recruit, but then we also give them an onboarding process that their clients are going to go through. So it's that word turnkey gets used and thrown around quite frequently, but it really is a very turnkey operation. So we're estate planning foundationally approach, or that's our foundational approach. And then our advisors, when we ID them, because we don't try to work with everybody, we want to work with those who want to become more transformational and not be that transactional advisor and just trying to get their pound of flesh, as I call it. So we have an onboarding process. We have an advisor, partner, concierge that walks them through every step of the way to set them up to success, to where we also will have the process for whenever we're ultimately going to help them with these educational events that they're going to ultimately do. And then the entire lead acquisition company that we have partnered up with. Really, the secret to my success have been building alliances, if you will, and strategic partners that have a vested interest in the success of the advisors that we onboard to get them to do these educational events out there in the public. And as most people know, seminar selling or, educational events, they really are the ideal way to get your message out to the masses of people. And we really deliver all the tools and resources that these advisors are going to need in order to be successful once we get them in front of an audience.
Right. And when I talk to HSET advisors, that's what I hear too. The number one need really is the prospecting component, the marketing component. Like you said, they want to be client-centric, not transactional. And you're giving them a roadmap for doing that. So it's B2B, but because your roadmap is the same as their client roadmap, it's kind of B2B to C, where you're helping guide them for their own practice as well. Maybe you can give us an example of an advisor you worked with, and we can kind of get a flavor for what that looks like, in tangible format here.
Yeah, sure. And that's great. So 5.5 years ago, I kind of sort of started the company from, my home with the dogs barking in the background, my, home computer on my cell phone. And so I started adding names and collecting names and sending out information. And one of the advisors that somehow kept listening or, reading the content that we were, putting out there, of which really most of that stuff I did on my own in the early stages. But, he kept reading these emails. Well, once we just started developing this process, this proprietary process about 30 months ago, he started reaching out to me. He's like, hey, that sounds really interesting, and I think I want to get into that. So he was the very first person that we had who went through the entire, what we call our on-demand training, where it's because, look, if you're looking for an advisor who's successful, if you're expecting to be able to have him go through like this extensive training on your time schedule, well, it's probably not the ideal client anyway. So we had to develop an on-demand training platform so they could do this at their leisure. So he went through the entire on-demand training. We coached him. We prepped him up. We'll help him set up his events. We'll get him all the customization, the PowerPoint presentation, all the verbiage and understanding he needed to be able to get in front of an audience. So we took him to literally beginning, soup to nuts, right? We flew out one of our team members out to his event because a lot of times these advisors need some assistance. So we provide a very extensive team to be able to help them, whether it's live or if they have to, talk with them on a regular basis, internally at their office. So this advisor went and got him in front of more clients he never got in front of ever before. And then, of course, we taught him about his onboarding process. And we say process on a almost ad nauseum, but it really is that process to do three things in this platform that we call the Advisor Partner Platform simultaneously. Number one, it's to elevate the client experience. Number two, it's to create true professional contrast in these communities that these advisors are trying to serve. And then three, ultimately, the biggest thing is to cement those ideal clients and competitor-proof them against your competition.
Right. I love what you're doing. I mean, what we do at Buddy INS is very similar for long-term care specialists and advisors that are trying to offer long-term care solutions, which is you have to be able to outreach to people. You have to be able to connect and educate them. And then you have to be able to follow up, eventually get in a meeting with them where you can help provide a solution, not a product, but a solution. So I think you're doing a phenomenal job of that. And thanks for sharing your kind of proprietary process here with us. I think a lot of people are going to get value from that. Hope to have you join us on future episodes too.
Yeah, well, I there's a lot to it, and I know it's a short interview and sort of 30,000 foot view or whatever, but that was the whole idea and understanding is that whenever we put these advisors really in the center of being the quarterback for the entire multidisciplinary team approach that we use, it wasn't to make them have to know everything. It's to let them know that we know everything and that we're going to be able to be here for the support that you're going to need all along the way.
Right, because one person can't do it all, right? And a lot of times we're put in this industry and you kind of expectation is you have to do it all, but you can't. So, well, I appreciate, again, you being on the show. And again, hope to have you in future episodes too.
Absolutely, Mark. Very much my pleasure. And thank you for having me today.